Welcome to Wine Soundtrack International. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world. In 30 answers, discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello, friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack. This is Alison Levine, and today I'm sitting in the beautiful hills of Alba in Piemonte, Italy, with Federico Ceretto of Ceretto Winery. Welcome, Federico, and tell us about Ceretto and where we are.
I love the way you say Alba. We are in the property called the Monsordo. It's the headquarters of the Ceretto Winery. Then we have other three spots where we produce wine. We are on the border between Alba and the Barolo appellation. So the castle you see in front of us is the castle of Grinzane, and the one behind is the castle of Serralunga. So we are in the heart of the Nebbiolo kindergarten.
So you were saying that you have property elsewhere. What's your total hectares and how many are to grapes? And what are the various grapes you're producing? Logically, I can take a guess because we're in Piemonte, yeah. But...
So we farm over 250 hectares. It's a huge number for Langhe, 100% in the Langhe region, the Langhe district, so south of Piemonte. It's a big number, but most of it are, the largest part of it is in Roero, so the other side of the river, where we became we've been visionary, pioneer, and I have to say strongly committed to the white grape Arnese, and for us today is a very strong part of our farming. It's slightly over 100 hectares. In Roero we were able to buy in the 80s, in the early 90s, larger properties. In Barolo, it's a different story. Barolo and Barbaresco, it's all about small parcels, plots. They give you the evolution of this area. My grandfather was able to buy in Barolo parcels of 3-4 hectares. The last one we purchased in 2003 was Cannubi San Lorenzo, and is 0.3 hectares. So the parcelization is fragmentation. It's stronger, but it's also what makes terroir wines interesting. So we vinify from 9 different villages in Barolo and in Barbaresco appellations. Then we have this property Monsordo. It's one single piece of 25 hectares where we do all the regional grapes, Dolcetto, Barbera. We do also fun wines like Riesling and Syrah, Merlot to learn, to challenge a little bit our team. Mm-hmm. And a big part of the farming are hazelnuts. This is the country of Piemonte, Tonda Gentile, the sweet, round, beautiful hazelnuts that made a lot of chocolate preparation famous around the world. The first one, of course, is Nutella, mm-hmm. Alba Ferrero chocolate, Nutella. So we have fun. We are farmer in a way, trying to farm the best agriculture product possible.
That's fantastic. So, of course, you're making all the grapes and the hazelnuts and the chocolate, which we'll talk about. But when we talk about wine, what is one of your first memories relevant to wine? You obviously grew up in this, but what do you first remember?
No, we grew up in the middle of the vineyards. My playground was the vineyards around the properties. In the summertime, in the late summer before school, we were helping with the harvest, playing around. So the early memory of wine are playing in the vineyards, going around. So it's familiarity for me. It's part of the DNA. With wine, I don't know. The first wine we produced, we signed, me, my cousin, my sister, and my other cousin. It was the Monsordo. It was a Nebbiolo blended with Pinot Noir, Cabernet Merlot. It was very experimental. And we grew up with this iconic Napa wines starting to become world-known, Australian wines, super Tuscan wines. So my first memory was us trying to compete, tasting, doing hundreds of tastings of these blended wines. So this was training. And probably the reaction now, it's, okay, now I want 100% Nebbiolo everywhere. I want purity. We became a Burgundy importer, so Chardonnay and Pinot Noir only, Austrian, Germany, Rieslings, Champagne. I want this kind of wine. International varietals for us was a nice experience to play, but it's not our direction. It's not our dimension.
So, speaking of purity and all the beauty of certain varieties, is there a particular wine or was there a particular occasion where you just remember drinking that wine? I'm sure you've had many of these because you live in an area where you're surrounded by them, but was there a particular occasion where you drink a wine and it just was transformational? It blew you away. And do you remember the occasion and what the wine was?
At the time, I can tell you the wine that at a certain point I said myself, okay, if I can burn again, Vega Sicilia, Vega Sicilia Unico, unbelievable. 1994, unbelievable. Really, that is the wine that I said, okay, if we talk about iconic wines, I am super jealous and super happy of the way that Bordeaux age.
Yeah.
Old Bordeaux in the 70s and the 80s today are unbelievable. Here, well, another wine that I drank last night at 1 o'clock at night. We opened the bottle, so you need a lot of motivation, but you cannot resist. Pergole Torte, Montevertine, 100% Sangiovese. If we talk about purity, for me in Italy, I will put it. And then in terms of Nebbiolo, the wine that I started with, and I said, my dear uncle, you did one of the very best wine, Barbaresco, Bricosili 96. That is a wine that I have in my memory as a statement like, okay, we should possibly, that is unrealistic, but we should possibly vinify and harvest first and vinify wine like this. Fantastic.
Wonderful. So if we were to go into your personal cellar, you're importing wines and you're making some amazing wines, what would we find in there? A lot of old wines from around the world, a lot of neighbors?
I don't collect this horrible answer. I'm sorry to be so. This is really.
You just drink wine.
No. This is really unfair to say. But between importing wine, that is now 15 years, and between the cellar of Piazza Duomo.
That's right. We should mention that just right down the hill on your property is a 3-star Michelin restaurant.
Exactly. So. Let's say that we have the wine available over there. In my cellar, you can find a lot of champagne, mostly Blanc de Blanc. I'm not a fan of. I like a little bit when they do late release of late dégorgement of certain wines, but I like Blanc de Blanc, especially in the great vintages. So 96, 2002, 2000. Now I'm super happy that 2008 is coming on the market, and I will drink champagne for the next 2 years again. I found this category of wine recently that for me are brilliant. I like Mediterranean wines in elevation. So Mediterranean wines on the volcanoes, like in Campania or in Sicily, or in Abruzzo, but in elevation. Has to be Mediterranean, so warm climate, but in the high elevation. And every time, especially with the whites, I can see amazing I like this contrast of ripe fruit and sharp acidity and tension in the wine. You have ripe fruit and tension. In the case of volcanic wines, also sapidity, minerality in an extreme way. So these wines are giving me a lot of interest and collectible. I don't know.
So you've spoken of all these wonderful varieties that you drink and wonderful wines. Do you think there's a such thing as a perfect variety?
Riesling.
Interesting.
Riesling.
And
Riesling, because Riesling, dry, sweet, fresh, aged, overaged, in oxidation. Maybe, I don't know. Do you know a good example of sparkling Riesling? Good. It doesn't come to my mind. The sparkling Riesling, probably I didn't explore yet.
I think I've had one, but I wouldn't say it was.
But perfect means I will never refuse a glass of Riesling, and rarely I found a glass of Riesling inappropriate. Chardonnay could be the same, because Chardonnay you can do young, age, old, blah, blah, blah. Minerality. You go from Chablis to Macon. You go in from Mendocino down to Santa Barbara. You go in Italy. Here we have Monforte, Serralunga making fantastic Chardonnays. But Chardonnay, unfortunately, if you don't have the touch, if the winemaker is a little bit, come si dice grezzo? Gross, you know, rustic, is unexperienced or rough or arrogant, Chardonnay gets over, you have to be kind and delicate with the Chardonnay. If you have the touch, the sensibility, Chardonnay, it's brilliant. It's maybe even better than Riesling, but Riesling,
pretty perfect.
Molto better.
Pretty perfect.
Red and Nebbiolo, of course. Nebbiolo. Do you drink something else than Nebbiolo? No.
Never.
After you finish Nebbiolo, you can maybe choose other varietals.
But perfection, Riesling, Nebbiolo. Yeah. So we were talking a little bit earlier when we were tasting some wine, and you were talking about how styles have changed and alcohol percentages kind of fell with the market and followed with what they were. What's your opinion on critics and scores? I know that they've kind of driven some things in the past. I mean, how do you approach that today? How do you look at them?
Man, I'm glad you laugh, because I really don't want to answer to this question. And it's I tell you my experience. I started 20 years ago. At that time, it was the center of the world. Everybody was fighting to get attention and then scores of few critics. Today, the world of wine scores, wine ratings became big. And now with the technology will be even bigger, because there are some social media that a lot of people are using, saying, why should I listen? Should I refer to one guy scoring the wines and writing a short comment when I can refer to 23,000 people that scored with the app a wine that they click on the label, they pick a label. So now, and then we have German, Swiss, French, English, Americans, Italians, many. Just in Italy, we have 8 wine guides.
Wow.
So now a lot of diversity. Of course, big guys, few, but a lot of other. So in terms of ego, I think everybody's happy now, because whatever or not, you get good scores and attention and exposure. If it's not this guy, it's the other guy. So a lot of diversity. The scoring system is a genius. We have to say thank you to James Suckley. So James is a very smart guy who made a simple concept of evaluating a wine understandable, comprehensible to the majority of the people. So he opened the door. He opened the door. Bravissimo. After that, 90. If you take, is it better today to get 99 point, 100 point, or 82? If you make, I give you an example. We got a very bad score one day because one guy, one critic, great critic with a great experience after 10 years or 15 years tasting our wines, he said, this wine has a problem of reduction. You should have not released this wine. And for us was absolutely volatile, not reduction, volatile. And for us, for our standard, for our taste, for our own pleasure, we were absolutely in the limit. We had a discussion at the tasting, and we got a very bad score. Wine was sold in 3 weeks. I never received so many calls of people say, it's possible, it's your best single vineyard in this appellation. I want to try. So there is one side and the other side. If you are, like everything, if you are a big journalist, a big personality, there is also a part of the trade or a part of the community that
they want to rebel against that.
Yeah. So I'm more. But for my father and my uncle generation, that was for 20 years. It was everything. It was everything. In wine, you are evaluated by your personality, maybe. So your influence on the media, on the customers. But in reality, you are evaluated by your land, your vineyards, and your integrity. So if you have great vineyards and you are working with your vision clear, in the long run, we are families. In the long run, if I will not be the most famous winemaker of Piemonte, maybe my son, maybe my great son, maybe my great son.
Yeah.
We are ready.
So let me ask you a couple questions, very quick answers. You as a wine drinker, red, white, or rosé?
Red.
Still or sparkling?
Champagne.
So, Italy is
Still sparkling is unfair because still sparkling it's white. No, still sparkling it's white. So white champagne, red and champagne.
Yeah. Obviously, food plays a really important role in Italian culture and food and wine. How do you approach pairing food and wine? Do you think there are rules to follow, or do you like to experiment? And when you're experimenting, what do you look to pair wine and food?
You said properly, and so we have to stay on this point. Food and wine in Italian culture are the same part of it's yin and yang. They have to go together. They have to. So we don't match like, what would you drink with this risotto with mushroom we grow up learning that red wine with lower acidity, more fruit, with these recipes that are regionally available, no? Because in Piemonte you eat Piemontese.
Right.
You don't go out. We don't have Tuscan restaurants in Piemonte. We don't have. I don't know. We have some Asian, like everywhere. We have some hamburgers, maybe, but not Piemontese. And then at home, we eat always mama's food, that is Piemontese. So pairing, we don't think like that. What I like, what I told you before at the tasting, Nebbiolo, it's probably my experience, but probably the most interesting wine, Nebbiolo in different categories, the most interesting wine to match with a very large diversity of food cultures, from Asian to South American to Scandinavian to Mediterranean, African, Middle Eastern. Nebbiolo, very difficult that you don't find food everywhere in the world that match perfectly with them. with Nebbiolo. It's absolutely versatile.
Yes, we had discussed that the only thing you probably wouldn't pair Nebbiolo with was seafood, raw oysters, and then the hard foods of asparagus and artichokes.
So asparagus and artichokes, no wine. But yeah, sometimes in many winemaker dinners, I had the pleasure to host or to follow. The chefs are very creative, and they because you are there, they tell you, look, this is my invention I made for Barolo. I know this sounds crazy, but and every time they tell me this, I'm like, oh my God. No. But seafood, one of the most interesting match I had was braised abalone. I was in Hong Kong. The chef was a Chinese chef, 87 years old, in a yacht club. When the guy came out of the kitchen, I'm like, oh my, are you kidding me? Braised abalone in this salty sauce, in this rich flavored sauce. The texture of the abalone, the sauce in rice, cooked in a fried rice, I don't remember, with Barolo, with aged Barolo. Henri, I was like, abalone. Abalone, no. Finish. You've been talking for 2 hours. People are super happy, and then the last dish, cavolo, it's a seafood with the aged Barolo. I'm opening a 1990 Barolo. You put me an abalone. It was brilliant.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Brilliant.
So just always try. You never know.
Yeah, fantastic. But seafood, when the seafood are very, come si chiama? Iodine. How do you call it?
Iodine.
Yeah.
No.
Forget.
No. So, for somebody who has not had the pleasure to taste your wines yet, what do you think they're missing out on?
A lot of joy.
Simply put.
No. It depends. If you are if you're a wine collector, if really wine is important for you, it's a hobby, but it's become really something that it please yourself, no? Then sooner or later you climb the mountain, and at the end you find, on top of the mountain you find the best vineyard of Champagne, the iconic Bordeaux, Burgundy, Grand Cru, and Premier Cru, and the same in Barolo and Barbaresco. You come here, you climb the mountains, you drink a lot of wine, you try it, and at the end your palate became so sophisticated, so demanding that then at the end of the day, to be on a heaven, you arrive in Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo and Barolo and Barbaresco is the PhD of wine connoisseurs. It's the last step. After that, there is heaven. If you are someone that drink wine socially, I go out instead of a gin tonic or instead of a beer, I like a glass of wine. Mm-hmm. Probably you like to try different things. You have to be open. The world is full of beautiful wine bars and beautiful young sommelier or assistant sommelier or waiters that that pick the wine, restaurateurs that pick some wines. Sometimes are crazy wines. Today, natural wines are a little bit hip, are very popular. And why not? Trying different things. Piedmont has beautiful regional wines. Maybe you want to try some Dolcetto d'Alba or some Freisa or some Arnese, some Nascetta. Local small variety, and the next day you drink something else. I mean, the world is full of beautiful appellation. Don't stay with one. Don't stay flat. Yeah. Don't stay boring. Don't stay average. Like I drink a glass of this because at the end of the day, I see a lot of wines very, very popular. I'm a salesperson, very, very popular in terms of numbers. In my opinion, I take responsibility for what I say. My opinion is because they taste little.
Right.
It's like comfort wine, no?
Familiar.
Yeah. French fries. French fries is like okay. I eat. They taste nothing. It's not too acidic. It's not too sweet or not too dry. Not too tannic. Not too rich. So I'm drinking a little nothing.
Yeah.
But doesn't touch me So it's okay. I'm fine with it. So don't stay average. Drink something that has a flavor or has a little history, and then try something else. I mean, it's a big world. We have enough. We have a little wine for enough people.
So I'm sitting here with you on your deck, looking out at the beautiful rolling hills and the vineyards, and in front of me is a bubble. I mean, it's a cool thing. It's a deck that extends out over the vineyard, so that when you stand there,
it's a terrace in the vineyard.
A terrace in the vineyard, you feel like you're floating in the vineyard. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's going to be really attractive to people. And if space aliens were to see it, I had to set that one up. Now, if they were to come and arrive, which of your wines would you want to present to them?
So probably they're absolutely not familiar with the wine. Like everywhere in the world, the wine that make everybody smile, happy, friendly, and positive, Moscato. You give them a glass of Moscato d'Asti, and in my experience, every time people does, wow, amazing, because they don't expect such a joy. Moscato is joy. If you don't like Moscato, don't drink wine. Drink beer, drink something else. So, as a welcoming to make them smiling and being positive, a glass of Moscato. Then, if they want to stay longer and they want to learn more, then we start with the Nebbiolo. But if you want to make people happy, share a bottle of Moscato. For sure, if they say, no, I don't like it, that's perfect. So drink water.
So tell me, we're here in the middle of harvest. Harvest is beginning. So the grapes are almost ripe on the vineyard. You've started to pick some white grapes.
We have third day of harvest of Arnaise, yeah.
So...
Fourth day.
Yeah, so the 2019 harvest is underway and some white grapes have been planted. I'm curious, vintage-wise, do you see variation from year to year, or do you see more consistency? What have you been noticing?
Now we are in the variation. We've been in a decade of hot. Now, thank God that this is finished. We see variation. Variation means sometimes it's very positive, sometimes it's very challenging. We had 2014 very challenging. We had 10, 13, 16 very, very positive. 12 cold, 15 Mediterranean, variation.
So because of that variation, are there any signs that you look for at any point that might help you determine what that year is going to bring you?
During the year, you mean? See, there are moments, flowering, it's important because flowering give you, at the very beginning, in March, in April, give you the idea how early or late it can be the season. So the vine, after that, it's all a consequence. And, then you hope you don't get late frost in April or late March or in middle of April. That here can happen. Here in Burgundy can happen a lot. Mm-hmm. And then the summertime, we hope in August, late July, early August, not to have too long of the African, because we have a Mediterranean climate in the summer, but sometimes the North African, we call it the Algerian horn, push, it's a climate definition. Mm-hmm. Push the Sahara, the desert heat all the way up through all the Mediterranean, and it can be very hot for a long, long time. Then, of course, you have the rain during the year that tells you long time of drought. It's not good. But for Barolo, because at the end here it's about the Barolo, Barbaresco, Nebbiolo, we decide now. Now, in the next week or so, if the weather switch from Mediterranean, and now it's 25 degrees or 28, and it's Mediterranean, switch into a more mountain, more colder continental climate, and that Nebbiolo will benefit. Much colder nights, much fresher mornings. So at that time we understand if it will be a long harvest of Nebbiolo, and so will be Nebbiolo with big personality, or will be a Mediterranean vineyard like 15 I mentioned you, with Nebbiolo maybe thinner, maybe lighter in body, but more early drinking. That when you say Barolo, early drinking looks like a conflict. But we can vinify in elegance, in purity, early drinking Barolo that are spectacular. And you still have the difference between La Morra, Serralunga, between all the different terroirs in a lighter body scale, because we don't have the phenolic ripeness of the cold weather, of the cold nights, and the wines are not austere, are simply terroir driven and not tannic and terroir driven. So,
do you have any traditions that you here at the winery or as a family do at the start of harvest?
No. No. We go to church
and pray for a good harvest. So I know that you're certified organic and you're practicing biodynamics. So when you're walking through the vineyards, do you talk to your vines?
No. They talk to me.
They talk to you? They tell you what they want?
Stay away, go. Don't touch me, leave me alone. No, our team is super happy. This, yes, if I understand your question, is the relationship between the human and the nature. We do it for a vision of my cousin Alessandro. We do it because I follow it because the wines, they live much better. I see energy, I feel energy, I see how the environment reacts to this. Fantastic. We are really doing right. Absolutely right. There's nothing to say. Tomorrow, everybody listening tomorrow should consider this as a obligation, because the results will be surprising. But my team, the relationship of my team, we have 48 people, 48 vintners working for Ceretto, and they are unbelievably happy of the switch we did 10 years ago, and they absolutely don't want to come back. Now they go in the vineyard, they work, they touch, they live, they breathe, and they feel great.
They're in touch, they're in tune with the vines.
They enjoy the wine, but also in terms of what was before with the chemical. Well, we never used very much chemicals, but certain practices that are not, we don't apply anymore over the last. The first switch in Barolo, honestly, was in 1990. Barolo signed a protocol, I think, in 1991, already to reduce certain treatments, certain products. But now there is all natural. They work physically inside the vineyard. They put the hands in it. They breathe the dust. They are super happy. They recognize as a fantastic environment to work in now. So I think it's a great. When they told us, please, at the beginning they hated us. They said, "No, you're a bunch of crazy people. You want us to do these things? Why don't we spray? Why don't we?" No. 3 years of hard work, convincing. Now, 10 years later, they are the first promoter. Like, don't go back.
It's fantastic.
No, this is a great. I think it's a great achievement for 50 people that work in a much better environment. I think we didn't think of it, but when we realize it,
I was going to ask you a question about what you would say is your proudest achievement to date in your work. I don't know if that might be one of the things.
This is absolutely one of them. Yeah. We are a family, and we protect in the same way. Maybe not like the children or the parents, but we protect people working with us because they dedicate a lot of energy and their commitment in what we believe. It's important. They are with us and making them so happy, so positive. Very proud. Yes, this is yes. And a couple of other things. The restaurant made us very proud as well because we do something for the territory. We did something for the territory. It has been an enormous economical effort for the family. You cannot understand how embarrassingly expensive is starting a project like this, but it was a vision of my father. My father is the patriarch. He spent 60 years of his life working, hard working. He had this dream. He found the chef. We found the building in the center of Alba. We did it for the community, because once you have such an iconic restaurant, then the whole gastronomic community improve. But this is also something that we are very proud of it, because the community recognized that we did something that improved everybody's work, everybody's goals, everybody's vision, and another very proud of it. And sometimes we make amazing wines, and I tasted it. Bricosiri 96, when you make wine like Bricosiri 96, Prapo 2010 and Briccoroc 2013, bene. You taste it and you're like, I did this, molto bene. Once in a while you open a bottle like, I can do things like this. So keep going.
What would you say is one of the best pieces of advice you ever received? And from whom?
Unfortunately,
no one ever gave you advice.
No. A very special person who died a few years ago, a producer in Alsace, Monsieur Hugel. We were together with the same importer in Canada. We did many dinners together, because he does white wine, I do red wine, so we always put together. And he was a very special person, very sensible, very, very special person. And even if we cannot say best friend, we were friends. He told me, we deliver a lot, no? To the community, to the family, to the company, when you will have kids, what you have to do 1 month before, stop traveling, stop not working, stop traveling, stay every day close to your wife. She deserves it, she needs it, and for the first 5 months, stay with her and the baby together to create the nest. The very best advice in my life. It made my life a lot happier and with a lot of sense. And I thank him. I tell this many times. I thank him forever. This was the very, very, very best advice from a man that was doing my work. So, you know what? At a certain point, all this is important. Very such a beautiful dinners, great places. New York, Tokyo, Paris. Meraviglioso. Yeah, you know what? There is one moment in your life where you have to step out of the scene, stay 1 month with your wife. She needs it, she deserves it, and 5 months with your wife and your child to build the nest. This will give you a lot of sense, and it's true.
And how many children do you have?
Two.
And
I have a girl and a boy. I have Alma Sofia and Tommaso, 9 and 4. So I'm really in that moment of fatherhood, and it's special. And yes.
And do you think that this is their future, that they will want the same future as you've chosen?
I'm teaching them to be able to taste already and live what I live. They come with me. I said, guys, if you want to stay more with me, and I want to stay more with you, of course, you have to understand this is my job. So exactly like my father and my uncle did with us. Come and, I have to go to the winery. There are 3 customers. We need to taste wine together. They come with me. They play in the vineyard. They go outside. look at this. It's beautiful for kids. They run all the way down. They jump on the tree. They see the tractors. They spend 1 hour in the property. They're super happy. They come back. They're all dirty, sweat, and smiling, and they lived here. So maybe in the future, this will be, as I told you, it's part of your life.
Yes.
Part of your memory. So maybe this will create a connection. If they feel they are connected, I'm sure they will do it. Working for Ceretto, it's working for our company. It's a lot of fun. Sales, winemaking, viticulture, sustainability, restaurant, culture, communication. Molto bene. I think
Something
I
you
think
always...
if they are smart, well, not smart, if they are connected,
Yeah.
why not?
And this was something you always wanted to do because you were connected?
No.
What did you want to do? Or what did you do?
I loved it when I started to travel, and I realized how people are happy and proud and really engaged with the wines. In this case, with our wines. Mr. Ceretto, so nice to meet you. You make amazing wine. I mean, this you can. I love La Morra, fantastic. The Tagliarin from Piemonte. I dream of it. I've been there 2 times. So good, amazing. And this empathy really conquered me. I'm like, okay, so this makes a lot of sense. We do something that make people so connected. And in fact, I've been an ambassador for 15 years. I've been traveling heavily for 10 years, 10 months a year, 9 months a year, heavily a lot, you can say, you can ask, you can say. And now I'm super happy because the restaurant, the hospitality, you see the bubble here. We have 1,000 of people coming from all over the world. And I think we did, my father, of course, the generation first, they started with nothing. And then 40 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. And now people are coming here and the contamination, it's fine. The energy, when you have people from all over the world coming and staying and loving it, and finally, now we are open. Now we're not anymore the Piemonte farmer watching you behind the door. Who are you? What do you want? Leave me alone. I don't talk to anybody. Now the kids speak 3 languages. But in the morning, you put the hat on, you go in the vineyard, nothing changed.
Right.
Then when you come back, in the wine bar, you can find the sommelier from Las Vegas, the wine collector from Vietnam, and the farmer drinking a glass of Nebbiolo, the guy talking, è bellissimo, è meraviglioso, è fantastico.
So tell me something. Can you complete this sentence? A table without wine is like?
It's like a funeral.
Oh. Okay, we're almost finished.
Maybe it was too much.
No. I think it's true. But, okay, so we're almost finished. I'm going to ask you 2 things. The first is, if you were sent to a deserted island, what 3 wines would you take with you? And then I want you to pair those 3 wines with music. What you'd want to listen to. What it makes you think of. So let's start with your 3 wines that you would take with you.
I will take Salon 96. I will take a Bricco Asili, Barbaresco 96. And I will take a great Trocken Beerenauslese or Eiswein from Germany or from Austria. Yeah.
I could have predicted it would have been Champagne, Riesling, and Nebbiolo.
Yeah, exactly. And Salon 96, it's allora, Bricco Asili 96, I already matched it once with the music. A journalist made a CD for us with the title of the songs, were the name of the wines. And Barbaresco 96 is like Bohemian Rhapsody. Because it's a bottle of wine that you pour it, and at the beginning has one song, and then when it opens, it's another song, and when you go deeper and deeper, it keeps changing and getting better and better and stronger. It's like Bohemian Rhapsody. You have a little bit of everything inside. It's a whole world.
I love that.
Salon 96 is Jimi Hendrix doing a solo in Woodstock.
Oh.
You just listen, take the glass, you and the glass, or you and the guitar and the solo, you listen. There's nothing else to say. It's like a performance, like the world performance. And the Riesling, it's, I don't know, a Riesling late harvest or ice vine Riesling, maybe with 20, 30 years of aging, even more. It's probably like, I don't know what was your song. I don't remember my song. The first time I made love with the one girl, but that is the pure passion. It's really you lose control. The song that made you lose control, and you go, I don't know, you choose. But it's really something that you dream will never finish. You really say, can this be
more, please? Well, Federico, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us.
Thank you for the question. It was a lot of fun. Grazie.
Before we go, can you just, I know your wines are available all around the world, but people can come and visit you here. How can they come and visit you?
Well, the website, today, the answer is always the website. Don't go online and Google ceretto.com. We have a hospitality program that is unbelievable. It's open 7 days a week. So we have 6 people running the program. It's purely inspired, even more than inspired, by the best hospitality programs of Napa.
Okay.
I grew up with a relationship with a Santelina importer for a few years. I learned in hospitality. I learned everything from Napa, and I visit Napa every year in January for the hospitality and consumer symposium. Mm-hmm. So for me, this is the model. A little bit of Champagne and Bordeaux as well, but the model is Napa. So,
and do you need an appointment, or can you just show up?
You need both. We are Italian, so my guys are not allowed to kick you out. Reservation, yes. Reservation, because it is not a visit, it's a wine experience.
Right.
So it's a little seminar, it's a wine educational program. So reservation, it's also good for you to be ready for, and then come with a lot of expectation, because we perform really well. The guys are really good. Yes.
And wear your tennis shoes, because you can go on a wine trek through the vineyard.
Yeah.
And you can leave with some delicious chocolates, because you have a partnership with chocolate and you grow your own hazelnuts. So it's a full service experience.
It is but it's called the wine experience.
Well, grazie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack International. For details and updates, visit our website, winesoundtrack.com.